was in a burn rubber and making motors blow. So what the school asked her just how fast she liked to go. She said, how many cube catches you got where it counts? I told her 125 and she broke my motor mount. She's a hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod ain't enough for her. She didn't say a whore. She's a hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. And I'm in my rod to pose. She's a hot rod whore. Well, she's in all top pistons. Stroke the bank, chest too. And a vulnerable and a positive traction returns her to go. Fat head, no heck, give her the kind of head bloody your table wag. You better go sitting on your hook. It's in the bag. She's a hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. This you don't need to know your son. Just your token power. She's a hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. They're shining my rods up close. She's a hot rod whore. Hot rod.
Yeah, it's another episode of Jeff's Garage Podcast. Once again, I'm going to do last in, first out. We have guests again, as always. We got Blazin in the house. What's up, sir? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired, so I have no catchy, witty intro today.
Understood. And then, of course, we got the supercar guru in the house. We have Benji. How you doing, sir?
I am excellent, and I brought my 10mm socket with me.
Well, unfortunately, I did speak to Steven today, and I sent him down to AutoZone to pick me up for breaker fluid. He is not back yet, and he's not going to be able to make it. So,
Happens to the best of them.
you know, he's still trying to find me that board stretcher, too. So,
Yeah.
like I said, like I was saying before the show, gentlemen, I actually thought of a new segment that I want to do. And this new segment, it's 15, 20 minutes, something like that. It's called, Do You Need This Tool? So I'm going to play you guys a video clip, and then we're going to discuss this. Check this out.
I had to move several 16-foot 2x4s to a job site. Extender Pro was nice enough to send me this truck bed extender to try out. This simply hooks into a 2-inch tow hitch. Assembly and installation of the Extender Pro was extremely easy. It even can be flipped around and set upright. And here it is attached to the truck in the upright position, which would be ideal for transporting ladders. Once I backed up to the material, I simply switched from the upright position to the low position in order to support the weight that's extended off the truck bed. I found it best to simply adjust the height to be slightly higher than the truck bed, so that way once the weight is in, it helps flatten out the load. And then I loaded up all the material onto the truck bed extender. 2 ratchet straps and a safety flag was also supplied with the truck bed extender. Check out the Extender Pro. You can't go wrong.
So what do we think, gentlemen? Is this something that we need?
I think if you own a Ridgeline or an Avalanche, absolutely.
Well, I don't know, because the Ridgeline and the Avalanche, at least the Avalanche, the middle section folds down. I mean, and my other thing is couldn't you just build this? Do you really need to go buy it?
I think if somebody doesn't have the metal fabrication skills, and they're looking for something of this sort, oh, absolutely. I mean, evidently there's a market for it. I mean, I do see the utility in it, though.
I mean, it's kind of a cool tool. I mean, it's not something that I would, my other question is, how often would you use it? And don't get me wrong, it's a toy. It's something that you don't want, you need, or you need, you don't need, you want. But I do see value in it. I love that it comes with the accessories as opposed to the old T-shirt or that old rag that's laying around that you strap on. I think it's a good little setup. I don't know what the price is, but I think it's a good little accessory. Benji, thoughts?
I think it's pretty neat for maybe a weekend warrior or, a carpenter who does stuff, kind of like smallish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for, like a small scale, this is probably great, right?
My other thought is
going to have a trailer. Right. A real contractor's going to have a trailer. So something that just
it saves you from buying that 8-foot bed too.
It saves you from buying or having to go rent something, right? So you own this. It kind of keeps it a little bit simple. I see the practicality in it.
Yeah, 100%.
But nothing. And it's below contractor, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a weekend warrior tool. I do like it.
$200,
Oh, no, I
give
think
or
it's
take
neat.
Is it
20.
really?
You get it.
That's not terrible.
How much
But
is it?
$200.
200.
Oh no, man, that's
I mean,
fantastic.
all day I'll
I mean,
take a couple
literally
of them.
after the first time you use it, the second time it's been paid for.
Well, you know, and he mentions in that video that it can be used for a ladder, you know, kind of like a ladder rack kind of thing.
Big
And
I
field
could see you.
goals in the field.
I
yeah,
could
you
see
know,
you for a kayak too.
yeah. Well, you know, the applications are endless, and you know, you know, you got the new guys that's got like little S10s or little Ford Rangers and stuff like that. You can't put a whole lot in those, you know, when it comes to lumber or carrying stuff, because it's always going to hang out the fucking tailgate anyways. So, you know, I think it's a good value, you know, especially at $200. I'm definitely going to have to build me one, because probably I don't think they have international shipping yet.
I do like the safety flag. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when I see somebody going down the road with a bunch of construction material hanging out the back of the freaking truck. No flag. I mean, let people know. I mean, I know it sounds obvious, but
You'd be surprised. I mean, especially nowadays, you know, my brother and I were talking today, and I have a question for you guys before we get into the main subject. You know, I'm kind of, I want to breach the subject, but I don't want to go too deep into it. But manual transmissions, it's that whole thing. There's people out there that have been driving their whole life, never seen or driven a manual transmission, and it's that same concept. If you don't know, if you don't know to put a flag on the back of your material hanging out, you don't know any better, so you think it's a normal thing. So you know, like I said, that flag is nice, big, and visible. I'd like to see a little bit of reflective tape on said flag.
ooh, yes.
I do like that.
Not a
I
ton.
do like that it had reflective tape on the actual metal. That was, like I said, some thought got put into it, and like I said, it fits a Reese hitch, which is super convenient. You know, so I think it's a good value.
Yeah,
But
and it's got big box store. If he could figure out how to package it, it's got big box store could sell that item. This guy.
well,
could
yeah,
become
I
an
mean, like you could be
Instagram-
walking down through Costco and be like, ooh, I need that.
Hold on. So let me ask you a question. I don't have TikTok. So the guy in the video, did he design this?
No.
He's just product reviewing.
So basically, the company that made it, and it says in the very beginning, they actually sent it to him to try out. What was it called?
Well, there's different brands. I think the one we just saw was a Lund, maybe Lund.
I'm
But
gonna play the first clip. He actually says it. Hold on.
I had to move several 16-foot 2x4s to a job site. Extender Pro is nice enough to send me.
Extender Pro. That's the name.
okay, let me look that up. But there's like there's suitables, or there's products on the market that it's essentially the same thing. You can buy it like Menards or Home Depot or Trailer Supply Store, etc.
But yeah, like I can see, like, you could even have lumber yards having this just sale there. You know, we're like, hey, dude, for an extra $200, you can throw this into your cart, and you know, jump it up and take it with you. And then it, as it showed in the video, it is collapsible. You can definitely hang it on a wall when you're not using it.
Okay, so I have to retract what I said earlier. The actual brand Extender Pro truck bed extender is $300.
Still not terrible.
At first, not terrible. The other one I was looking at was 200. Like I said, there's different variations from different
Right.
brands. They essentially all do the same thing.
And you know what? And that is a perfect segue, sir. So thank you for setting that up. Tonight is, as you see in the title, is called "What's Your Brand?" That old rivalry. And you know, and as Blaze, you just said, it comes down to, does brand really matter? I mean, in some things, yes, you know, but in
Sometimes, yeah.
most things, I don't think they do. And I was talking to Benji earlier. I want to lean a little into tools on this one because I believe it's Milwaukee and Ryobi, made in the exact same factory. They're literally on a conveyor belt right next to each other.
Hmm.
So
Oh,
same
that's like
quality,
Black and Decker and Dewalt.
right?
Yeah.
But and I get the idea. Like if you buy a cordless drill, you're automatically almost obligated to buy everything else cordless of that brand because the battery fits.
Sure.
Yes.
But if you didn't have that constraint, what's your brand for tools? Power tools. And my answer is going to be is an interesting one because I have a very distinct thing on this.
I think for me, it
Think
depends on what the project is, how long I'm going to be doing that project, how often I'm going to be doing that project. There's times where I'm just doing a single project I'm never going to do again. If I need a specific tool, if Harbor Freight sells it and I'm never going to use it again, it's cheaper. I'm not going to
No,
lie. So, but if I needed a chainsaw and I was constantly going to be, needing that chainsaw constantly for a job or something, I'd most likely go with it's not Stanley. Shoot. Starts with
still.
an S. Still, thank you.
And don't get me wrong, I love Still. I think Still is amazing.
Mhm.
Oh, look at that. Brian says his buddy's got one for his paddle board. One of those extended
See,
pros.
perfect. Paddleboard. I said kayak, but yes, absolutely. A paddleboard. It would rock for a paddleboard. I agree. This thing's gonna get pretty long.
Yeah, for me, Benji, do you have a brand tool wise? You're in the trades.
I guess power tools
You
Milwaukee.
strike me you strike me as a DeWalt guy, like that yellow
I
and black.
like any tool that
This is
has a
trophy
charged
yellow and
battery. How about that?
black.
That's my
There's
favorite. No, the
there's
company is
tools. Oh,
the
sorry.
company goes towards Milwaukee. A couple of tools I lean towards like Cobalt.
Okay.
I kind of like Cobalt's knives, like their razor knives. I have to use a ton of razor knives. Like I really like their ergonomics and their ease of flipping a blade in and out pretty quick.
Okay. And that's something I didn't think of. Ergonometry.
Yep.
If that's a word.
Well,
Is
gotta be
extremely
comfortable to
important.
use, right?
Yeah. However, in my caveat to this is and when it comes to tools, is more money better? No. Is an easy answer. And I have this weird thing. I love Ryobi. I think Ryobi has an excellent brand because they have everything.
That's one reason I like Cobalt.
Right.
It's not a cheap tool, but it's not a super expensive tool either. So especially with
It's
razor
not
knives,
like buying. It's not like
Yeah.
buying Snap-on. Which Snap-on is great, but oh my
Sure.
god.
Well,
Very
yeah.
expensive.
And Blazin, I wanted to ask you because you have that motorcycle mechanic background.
Mhm.
Are you a Snap-on guy or a Matco guy?
Actually, like Benji had brought up, I buy Cobalt because it's a good quality tool for the price.
Yep.
But if I were to choose between those other two, I'd definitely go Snap-on.
Really? Because I'm a hardcore into Matco. I like their logo. I love some of their toolboxes are amazing. And I love a nice big. There's a photo out there.
Box.
The guy's got a box the size of my house, and I'm just like, that's the goal. That's the dream. There's nothing better than a full box of tools. Okay. Don't you have a wall to fix, sir? Connor? He said,
Hey, Connor. That's funny.
I'm telling you, Connor, tap cons. So Connor's son ripped a towel rack off the wall, and he's got what do you call it? What's it called, Connor? It's shiplap kind of walls.
I gotta let the other dog out.
Not shiplap there. It's not drywall either. It's plaster with lapping behind it, and apparently his son ripped it clean off the wall. And my first thought was Tapcons. Now the big blue Tapcons that are like 4 inches long. Yeah, ain't going nowhere. And we always seem to go back to it. Car brands. I don't necessarily have a preference. I love all cars, but if I had to stick with a single brand, I'd go Chevy all the way. I can count on one hand how many Fords I like, and it's not because it's a bad brand. I think it has a lot to do with upbringing. Like, my dad was a Chevy guy. His dad was a Chevy guy. All that fun stuff. Do you have that same background, gentlemen?
Go ahead, Benji.
Well, to me, it's kind of a two-part answer because I'm really big into foreign cars. So I like foreign and domestic.
Right.
So if I go domestic, it's got to be Ford because I'm a big Ford F-250 fan. And that's probably about it. The GMC truck is pretty awesome. But after that, foreign, I've got to go Ferrari. I mean, I'm a Ferrari and Porsche guy.
And that's where you and I...
Porsche, my Porsche hat. I'm a Ferrari guy.
You and I 100% disagree on Ferrari
okay,
versus Lamborghini. No, but Ferrari versus Lamborghini, and I don't know what it is. I think it's because Enzo Lamborghini was an asshole.
Okay.
No denying. And I think that's what bothers me most about it. Because, old man Lamborghini went up to old man Enzo and said, hey, your guys' clutches sucks.
Yep.
And Ferrari was just like, fuck you, buddy. You can't afford my shit anyway, so go away.
Yeah.
And God bless him for doing it, because Lamborghini was like, oh yeah, we'll see about that. But when it comes to, like, okay, so your dream Ferrari is what?
Oh man, I probably like a F8 or a 458.
Okay.
Something like that. I'm not super big into the brand new ones, so it's kind of that, 430,
Like
458, F8, kind of 488. So it'd be 430, 458, 488, F8. Kind of my area of, to me, it's like peak.
And Blazin, I know you're a Harley guy. What are your thoughts on Indian?
So just real quick, when it comes to motorcycles, it's a toss-up between Kawasaki and Harley. The last bike I had was Harley. The one before then was Kawasaki, for different reasons. But when it comes to cars, like, I'm a pragmatic person. So when I look at buying a new vehicle, it's like, what do I need it for the situation or the part of life I'm in right now? Because I've had Chevys, I've had Fords, I've had Mazdas. Right now I have a Kia Rio. I do a lot of driving, and it's got like 40 something miles to the gallon.
You can't beat a Kia's fucking guarantee.
It's got the 1.6 liter, but it's got that sports option. Like, I hit the sports button, and it switches over to fucking race mode. So
I'm not mad at Kia.
I'm not. I mean, it's affordable, but see, again, like, so if it's for hot rods, I've always been more of a GM product, Chevy mostly. The old school Nova, Chevelles, Impalas, just shit like that. Like I said, I used to have a Ford car. It was a Ford Taurus Jelly Bean styles in 1999.
Nah, I know that car well.
But I bought it because I recently, just got married. We got this new family. At that time, Ford Tauruses had one of the best safety ratings, and I was like, oh, I care about my family, shit like that. I had a little Mazda RX.
Yeah, we die like men here. There's no airbags in these cars.
So, I mean,
they take them out and jump cocaine down.
I've had a minivan because our family got big and we needed something bigger. And I was an airman in the Air Force, so the budget wasn't all there. So a minivan was definitely
what minivan? What minivan? Which one?
It was the Dodge Caravan.
Ooh,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah. You just lost points there, buddy.
And it wasn't even the one with the stow and go. It was even bottom.
Really? Ooh.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
I miss my minivan. I used to have an 87 Astro, and that thing would it wouldn't die. I think it's still on the road. Um,
Oh, I had
you
a
know,
buddy when I was stationed in Utah, and we were all single, but we had a buddy that had a Chevy Astro van, and it was like a party van. We cruised the strip in Ogden, Utah, or Salt Lake, Utah, and he'd be driving, and the rest of us are in the back, fucking drinking, hooping and hollering, trying to get into fights and picking up chicks and all that shit.
Connor brought up one of my dream vehicles, the 96 through 98 Chevy Impala SS. Beautiful cars, extremely hard to get because everybody that does have them knows what they got. They don't want to get rid of them. But if you can get your hands on one, oh man, they're gorgeous.
I didn't know there was a market for those jelly bean Tauruses at the time, or I would have kept
Really?
one. Yeah,
Well, they had that.
there's
They had the
people
show
out there that
version.
actually want them. Yeah,
They had
I had
the SHO version.
I had the
Really?
SHO. Oh yeah, it was a nice. I
That's
mean,
a big bad boy.
I mean, the body style I was a little on the fence with. I thought it was kind of weird looking.
It was
but
Ford's weird era.
It was, but mechanically and comfortability and sound system and all that, it was really good. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't lie.
It was the Ford
And I-
family product, right? That's what it was.
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah,
but it
it
also being the SHO. I mean, that was a demon. That thing was badass.
Sure.
oh yeah.
There's actually a Ford Cosworth in Europe. Jeremy Clarkson has one, and it has that Ford show motor in the back of a Ford Cosworth. Now, a Ford Cosworth is kind of it's a odd shaped version of the Escort. Remember the Ford Escort, the little box that was kind of like a Fox body Mustang? But they actually, Cosworth, what they did is they put the show motor from the Taurus in the back of one of those, making it rear wheel drive, of course. And they were selling them to the public, and they were quick. Them little SHO motors, they don't mess around.
That's a heavy rear end though. I can see the front lifting up.
Well, I don't know exactly what I think it was considered mid-engine because the engines are between the axles, so to speak. But apparently, like they actually, I believe, they even rallied that vehicle.
Yeah, they race them. They race like D2 style.
Yeah, well, they do almost like a hill climb kind of thing.
Correct.
Not the hill climb that you were talking about, where they go up a dirt hill, but what's that famous race?
It's like a time attack kind of thing.
Yeah. It's like kind of like a Pikes Peak kind of thing.
Correct.
And of course there's dirt rally and all that fun stuff too. Benji, you brought up the Chevy or the GM trucks, and I actually found out something interesting today. So I was talking to my brother, and I was spreading him the good news that I was talking about you with earlier, Benji. And I mentioned I'm looking at a couple of trucks, and he said I mentioned I want a 2018, 2020 high country Chevy Silverado. I think they're gorgeous. Actually, I want to take mine, and I don't know if you guys have seen the Bandit Silverado. It's made to look like the Trans Am from Burt Reynolds' Trans Am, but in a Chevy Silverado, and it is one bad little beauty.
Shit!
Right? It's gorgeous.
Oh shit!
No, it's I believe it's an aftermarket company that makes it.
Okay.
So you buy the truck, you take it there. They put a body kit on it. They boost your motor, and I think they put out about 700 to 800 horsepower. They put the what's it called? Snowflake wheels on it, custom paint. They only come out in one color, black with gold, with the bird on the hood.
You got the bird on the. I'm looking at it right now.
It's gorgeous, right? Yeah. And I want to make a replica because I don't have the money to. Right? It's $80K, but I think that's when you take your truck there. So I think that's $80K after you buy the truck. So and
They've
the
been doing
body
that
kit
for
on
a
it.
while. They've
Yeah,
been doing that for a while. Yeah.
it's a
'Cause
beautiful truck.
I'm seeing multi. I see a 2015,
Hmm.
2021, a 2023. Dude, that thing is sexy. I dig it.
Yeah,
Uh,
Connor, I agree with you. I'm a huge Evo fan, and like Subaru WRX STI. I used to have a WRX. Right, I think it was right when they were dropping the 6 or dropping the Evo 7. So then when they
right, right.
finally came to America, that was really cool. So yeah, I'm a fan of all that stuff,
For
European
our
and Japanese.
for our viewers, this is the Bandit truck that I'm talking about.
No
Oh,
shit.
good.
Um,
I was looking for a picture myself. Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
I mean that is a gorgeous truck. I
So
love the body kit on it.
there was another one I was looking at that didn't have that front spoiler, the bottom of, and I thought it looked sexier, but it just looked more aggressive to me.
Yeah, and then of course the back end on these things. I got to show this picture. Bear with me 2 seconds here, boys.
No, you're good.
What they do to they put a ducktail spoiler on it, NASCAR style, NASCAR Truck Series style spoiler, and then of course the paint to match, and the custom exhaust, and of course the Bandit logo, and it's an 800 horsepower all-wheel drive truck. You can shut off the all-wheel drive, and I like that the rims are not solid gold. They just have that one spoke that's gold. I like that. I want
So
to
I
build my.
dropped the 2020. I dropped the 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, in the private.
I did
See,
see this one.
I think that one's sexier.
Yeah, that truck's pretty badass.
This one's
Let
turbo.
me go mute again.
Yeah, go ahead. And I'll show that one too. I think this is a gorgeous truck. But like I said, so and the information I found out today is that is kind of sexy. I like the aggressive wheels. The pinstriping leaves a little bit to be desired on this one. And is that like snakeskin on the back?
Yes, it actually, yeah, it is. I didn't even notice that.
I just noticed that myself.
Oh,
I do like the bird on the
interesting.
hood. I think that's cool.
Yes.
But so
That kind of looked like what a factory would do. We're going to make it
Yeah,
badass, and then they check what the price is going to cost. We're going to get you almost there, guys.
yeah, well, and you can with that 2018 version or with the 2023 version, you can literally just go buy a Silverado and throw some wheels on it and get some pinstriping done, and you're there. Now the difference is that one's got a shaker hood, so it's I mean some modification there, but that's not that hard. Shaker hoods are easy to install.
Candace's car.
But the interesting thing I found out is that from I think it was 2015 to present, 1,500 Chevy Silverados, their frames, not what they were built before that. They used a thinner material, so those frames are buckling. The 2500.
You could probably blame the government for trying to get higher EPAs and forcing these companies to do things
I
like
think
this.
so too. I think so too. Now, see, and I was telling him that's something I don't have to worry about here because you can't get a V8 in a 1500 here, no matter what you do. They won't sell. They don't sell it that way. It's only the V6. And I was like, that's kind of a ripoff, but I'd buy the 2500 now that I know the backstory of these frames. So, like I said, it doesn't really affect me because A, I want the V8, and B, I don't really have to worry about frame damage. But it is
a V8 there.
Yeah, but it's going to cost you more than it would to just go buy a 2500.
Okay, I got you.
You can buy a 2500. The only difference between a 2500 and a 1500 is towing capacity, honestly. And now that we know a better frame. So why wouldn't you just get the better frame? And I can get them used all day long. I was on Facebook Marketplace the other day, and I found a 2020 High Country in black, fully loaded to the gills. And I think it was like $50K, and it's got low mileage. It's everything I want in a truck. So where now the funny thing is about importing vehicles into Mexico. If I import a Camaro, I have to pay an import tax. But if I import a truck, there's zero import tax.
That's interesting.
So and
the utility, is it because it's utility vehicle?
yeah, well,
Got you.
it's considered farm equipment.
Gotcha.
So now I have a question with that. Now I know when it comes to laws, I know here in the States, if you declare something a farm vehicle, you can get the red diesel or whatnot. But if it's not, you have to get regular. Now, is that the same way in Mexico? If you buy
No, diesel's diesel here.
well, no. Well, I'm talking about the truck. If you buy an import truck and put down it's going to be farm equipment, there's no tax. Or what if you put it's for personal use? Would they retax?
Well, there's a caveat to importing a vehicle. If you're for somebody like me, I can import a brand new 2024 tomorrow, but I can't sell it to a Mexican because you cannot change the plates for 10 years.
Holy shit!
So like for instance, the Eclipse. This is actually a Canadian car. Actually, no, this is a U.S. car, and the Malibu is actually a Canadian car. So like the Eclipse has miles per hour, and on the dash, where the Malibu is kilometers per hour.
Okay.
Now, luckily for me, because math and quick math is not forte, it does have the double. It shows miles per hour just underneath the kilometers and vice versa. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so like if I had a buddy of mine a couple years ago, he was like, "Hey, do you want a car?" I was like, "Dude, I ain't got no money for another car." He's like, "No, I didn't ask for any money." I said, "Do you want a car?" I said, "So for free?" He's like, "Yeah, I can't sell it. I can only sell it to an American, and you're the only other American I know. Do you want a car? I'll give it to you." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And it wasn't anything special. It was just a 2000 Grand Am. And nothing wrong with the car. Not necessarily my style. I mean, I loved the car. It was great. And it was free, which means it was priced right. And it had 1 billion miles on it and whatever. But once again, he couldn't get rid of it. Now, what I did is I could have sold it. I could have got the plate switched and sold it, but it would have cost me like $2,000 to do so. And when it finally died, I just took it to the junkyard and sold it for scrap. So, I think I made like 500, like $2,000 on it.
Now you brought up, of course, you live in Mexico, and I'm familiar. I've never really been to Mexico once, but it was when I was in California. It was just a quick trip to TJ's. But when I was stationed over in Europe, like the car culture there, when it comes to your everyday kind of thing, is a lot different mindset than it is here in the U.S. What's it like down in Mexico? Like the U.S. is like all about big trucks and big vehicles and gas guzzlers. Granted, there is some change recently with more economical cars because of different reasons, but over in Europe, it's always been a more economical gas mileage sort of.
Yeah, it's like they mess. Here is kind of this. Well, you've heard the saying, "Run what you brung,"
Mm-hmm.
where you show up at the drag strip and you're fucking Winnebago and you can run. That's how they do it here. It's not what I mean, if you got money, you go out buy a brand new Ford Raptor, and then throw some money at it. There's guys doing it. Here, and different parts of Mexico are different things, and which is something I learned. And what I mean by that is like there are guys in Chiapas, which is about 1,000 miles from me, where they got the big lifted trucks, and they're on every corner. Here in Cancun, it's literally I can afford a car. I'm going to throw a bunch of money at it, and it's maybe not your style, but I like it, so fuck you. And I love it because, like, I mean, what is it here?
Well, and the reason why I asked, and this is just for juxtaposition, like where I live, there's a bunch of agricultural farms,
Right.
and a lot of the farm owners and farm workers are uh, from Mexico and from other places south of the border. And I've noticed this weird dynamic. You see the immigrants from like South America and stuff, when they have their trucks, it's muddy, it's practical, they use it for work. And then when you see the farm owners' kids in their trucks, they're lifted, they're chromed out, and it's like, there's this like weird mentality when it comes to different cultures and the way they look at vehicles and how
Well,
they use them.
yeah, there's a saying in Mexico in the car culture. And we have the saying back home as well. And the saying is, I've made it. You've made it when. Well, the funny thing is, and it goes 100% against everything I stand for. But in Mexico, if you drive a Ford F Series, you've made it, so to speak, which is kind of a weird thing for me because I'm not the Ford guy. But Ford, now the funny thing is you can buy Ford F Series all day long on Facebook Marketplace. You can't find a Chevy to save your life. They're
Wow,
few and far between. But there's a lot of Chevys out there. People just don't sell them because money for value kind of thing. But the F Series trucks, I have a buddy of mine. He's a huge car nut as well, and he says all the time. He says when I bought my Ford F-150, I knew I made it, and I was like, really? It's a Ford F-150, dude. He's like, yeah, but and here they don't call it the F-150. They call it the Lobo, which means wolf, which is actually cooler than F-150, but whatever. But the commercials in Mexico for Ford trucks are above and beyond anything. I'll see if I can find one for next episode. But
that would be a good episode.
Ford has a plant down there too, correct?
Yes. Well, there's a couple of Volkswagen has a couple of plants down here.
Yeah, but
That I
does
did not
Chevy have
know.
a plant there?
What's that?
Does Chevy have a plant there?
I believe they might. I don't 100% know. I know Ford does.
Maybe that's why Ford is so big there.
I don't know.
Invested into the community there.
I think that's a possibility. I know. The funny thing is like I was actually talking to my brother about this, and last episode we were talking about customization, and one of the builds I want to get a Volkswagen Beetle and put a Harley motor in it because I think
There
it'd be
is
fun.
there is a GM plant in Mexico. Yes.
There you go. But here's the crazy thing. So Volkswagen corporate stopped making the Volkswagen Beetle, the one we all know and love, Herbie, but they sold the rights to the vehicle to Mexico. So I could go buy a brand new 2004 76 Volkswagen Beetle. That was 2004 was the last year they made the 76 style Beetle here. I can buy a 76 style Beetle that was built in 2004 for like $1,000.
Like new old stock?
Yeah. Like
wow.
what Mexico did was they bought the presses, they bought everything. So like they're still press fenders and bodies to this day. There's an entire industry in Mexico. There's one store, it's called Volksrods or Volks something. It's Volks parts. They sell nothing but Volkswagen Beetle 76 body style parts. You can literally go in there and buy every single part and build you a one-off brand new 76 Beetle.
They sold it to Mexico, so the government owns the brand?
Well, they own that body style.
And a company in Mexico.
Well, no, it's actually Volkswagen of Mexico.
Oh, okay. But it's still a private company.
Right. So you could go to the Volkswagen in 2004. You could go to Volkswagen dealership, and right next to the brand new Golf was a 76 style Beetle that was built yesterday.
Wow.
and it's really kind of cool. Now the
How
reason why,
much?
Released this to the States. I mean, it could have been like a mega hit, I would assume.
well, here's the thing: there's no airbags, and there's no. I mean, it's just the way it was built in '76. The only difference is the motor's fuel injected.
Sure.
So it's bone stock like it was built in '76, but built in Mexico from 70. I think they sold it. They started selling it in Mexico in '80, all the way to 2004. A friend of mine.
That means in what 2029 we should be able to import those to America. Then that'd be the 25-year rule.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I can get you like I can get '76 ones. I can get ones that were built in '76. My mother-in-law has one. I mean, it would take me hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix it because it's literally rotting. Every time I go through it, I can
That's
see.
what I'm saying. If you get a 2004 and 2004 and 2029, I mean that's that's the ticket, right?
Well, it's like my neighbor, he has an 85, and he's rebuilt it, and he wants was it 25 grand for it, but it is the cleanest Volkswagen Beetle I've ever seen. Like, he rubs it with a diaper every night, and when we've all heard the Volkswagen Beetle motor. It's the loudest thing we've all heard of a stock motor. His is so quiet, I can stand next to it and not know it's running.
Oh wow.
Gotcha.
It is clean. Now, I wouldn't buy his because I'm just going to rip the motor out and throw something stupid in there. But my eventual goal is to buy 2 or 3 of them. I want to put a Harley motor in one, Porsche motor in another, and a motorcycle engine from like a YZF or a Hayabusa in the other.
So it's funny we're talking about Volkswagens and you brought about so I grew up. My dad's a huge car guy. He was an ASC mechanic like since he was a teenager. It was different back then, of course, but I remember him telling me stories where it was a huge thing. This was in Virginia, where they would buy Volkswagens, bugs, and they would rip the Volkswagen engines out and just drop Porsche engines in them.
Oh yeah,
It was a huge thing to do.
I bought a 72, which is the same body style, but about a 72 off a buddy of mine here about 15 years ago. And I did that. I actually went to the junkyard, got a Porsche motor. The front end of that Porsche was gone, Benji, so don't hate me. But I took the motor out, and it bolts right in to the original Volkswagen transmission.
Yeah.
Now, the only caveat is the Porsche motor has way more torque than the Beetle transmission can take. So you have to use the Volkswagen bus transmission, which bolts right in. And I would take it to the drag strip here and run 10s all day long.
You keep saying things that I keep thinking about other things. How, like nowadays, when it comes to cars, there's not a whole lot of crossover. You can use part from this manufacturer on this one.
Agreed.
But back then, dude, you can.
Well, no, that's sort of true.
Within manufactured brands.
Okay. Well, no, because the reason why I say it's not quite true, if you pop the hood on a fucking Lamborghini, it's all Audi or Volkswagen. Okay. And I think even Bentley. Bentley's owned by Volkswagen.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Audi owns Lamborghini, Volkswagen owns Bentley. Used to see it a lot with McLaren and Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
They had the SLR, I think's what it was.
Volkswagen doesn't Volkswagen own Bugatti too? I don't remember.
No, Rimac owns Bugatti.
Oh, okay.
Or RevMac, or however you say it. That's that Middle Eastern car company who is now the fastest car in the world.
Yeah.
So Bugatti's kind of bounced hands.
It's a joint. It's a joint. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the Bugatti Rimac. Never mind.
Okay. No, but it was like,
The guy to
and
the
I get what you're saying.
competition with Mac Automobile.
You know, my dad used to tell me stories about you know, when my dad was growing up, they lived out in the middle of nowhere in a town of like 200 people, and you know, Dad lived out in Coolville. Funny name, but it's actually a real place. And they had like an old Nash Rambler station wagon, and my dad and his brothers would take my grandfather to work, come home, pull the motor, and put a new motor in it, and then go pick grandpa up in it. And you know, they would put whatever they could find, and mainly to make it faster. And it's the switching of parts nowadays. And let's be honest, nowadays cars, they're mostly computer. You know, even with the Eclipse is a 97. I was talking to my buddy here that he's my mechanic, and I want to put the Dodge Stratus 2.4 turbo in it. Same block, basically the same transmission, everything's the same. But if you don't use the Dodge Stratus computer, it'll never start. And that was a 97. So, you know, guys that can take a Tesla and put an LS in it, that's impressive as shit, and make everything work.
Yeah.
Because,
I agree.
you know, and I have a whole episode on that plan. There's a show called Rust to Riches, where they build a car, they trade up for another shitty car, and then sell. You know, they build up, and then the final car they sell for like $200,000, and then they all split it. They actually took a Tesla. They put a 427 in it, and they cut the hood so it looked like the motor was exploding out of the hood. It's a badass little car. But everything in the Tesla from Tesla still works. You know, and which, like I said, that's impressive as shit, because I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah, you need to be a computer engineer.
Yeah.
Some serious know-how.
Well, and it's a sad thing about new cars is that, you know, when we were growing up, you could go out and buy an 86 S10, rip every wire out, and have it rewired by the end of the weekend.
Sure.
With a new motor in it. You can't do that today with any car built after 2000.
I agree.
And it's, you know, I was actually watching Adam Savage the other day, and he says, you know, it's a sad fact that that's happening, because how did you get into cars, or how did you get into stuff? It comes down to, I bought a shitty Chevette, and I had to keep the fucker on the road, you know? So I had to learn how to do my brakes. I had to learn, you know, and nowadays, just even change the brakes on some of the new cars with all the sensors and everything, you need a fucking 4-year degree before you can even take the lug nuts off.
So that's one thing with modern motorcycles I have a heartburn with, especially when it comes to Harleys. Actually, just about all of it. Harleys especially, because Harleys is one of those brands that back in the day was kind of like your Chevys and Fords. You know, you just work on them on your own in your garage. But
Yeah.
nowadays, you have to have specific software on a specific computer to hook up to run diagnostics on it.
That goes into the right to repair. I don't know if you've seen
John
this.
Deere had a huge lawsuit with that. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Like, I'm 100% off of John Deere because of it. And I was never the John Deere guy. My dad had a Deutz Alice Chalmers. The brand Deutz Alice only lasted 2 years. It was Alice Chalmers and Deutz, which is a German company, built tractors together. The Deutz Alice, which is an Alice Chalmers basically, but they were painted John Deere green. And those tractors, it sounds funny, but those tractors are worth 10 times what people paid for them, because they're rare and they function better than anything you would ever see. My dad actually bought a brand new 86 Deutz Alice 3120. It's a 3-cylinder diesel. I've literally had that. Granted, I was like 12 at the time. My cousin and I decided we were gonna pull something out of the brambles. So crank up the gas and dump the clutch at like 5,000 RPMs, and I stood that fucker up on its rear tires for like to the point where I climbed down and we sat there looking at it and went, well, what are we gonna do? And then it just fell forward, and we were like, okay, don't tell nobody. And the fact that it did that without breaking the front axle goes to show it was amazing thing. But the whole right to repair thing, it's becoming more common. Like even just to change a battery on some cars, you have to reset the computer.
Dude, yes, and it's fucking ridiculous. I
It's
have worked at a couple parts stores in my lifetime, and that's usually one free thing that some stores are like, hey, we'll swap your battery for you.
right.
It's and this doesn't go so much with the computer, but somebody will roll up with one of those cars, you have to disassemble, take off the entire wheel, fucking take off the fucking fender, just to get that battery. So I'm like, I'm sorry, we're not going to do that. Well, you said you'll swap it for free,
Yeah. Well,
but yes, when it comes to like swapping out, like a lot of the newer ones, when you're talking about those lithium batteries and shit that are coming out,
yeah.
yes, yeah, there's a huge, yeah, and that's and hell, even my car, I can tell when my battery's getting low, or it's about done in its lifetime. Like the electronics are fucking up. Like my phones, I'm spoiled. It's not that old of a car. It's like it's got the screen on the dash, Bluetooth to my phone. I plug in my phone, and I have the whole display from my phone on the screen. But the moment that battery gets old, none of that shit functions, and it's so fucking annoying. But it also lets me know that I need to replace my battery.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good warning light. I mean, it's better.
Yeah.
And we've all had that. I saw a shirt the other day, and it's the check engine light, and it says, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." That's not a thing anymore. If your check engine shows up in a 2020 plus, you better get to the mechanic because your car's going to die. Where like this thing, when it's running, that check engine light is bright as a motherfucker. and it doesn't matter because it's like, yeah, I don't get me wrong. I've pushed this thing a couple of times. It is not a light car for a light car. It's extremely heavy, but I think that I'm more prone to buy a used car. I will never buy a new car for the simple fact, even something as simple as an oil change, I love doing it. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Yeah, you got to figure out how to get rid of the oil. Yeah, you got to have some equipment to do it, ramps or whatnot. But on a new car, you almost can't do that. And that's super annoying.
So I used to have a 2008 Dodge Ram 1500. And the first time I did the oil change, I didn't realize there was this spout or like chamber that came down from the oil filter. The oil filter. Take the filter off, and a channel, an oil channel for it to drip down. It was the weirdest thing. I had never seen that in my entire life.
I would think that would like. Do you have to clean the channel afterwards? That just
no. Well, I mean, I just took a rag up there and wiped it off. But
right.
I mean, I thought it was kind of convenient, but at the same time, I thought it was something that was in the way when I was in the process of doing it.
And my other thing is can I just say fuck engineers? Because I don't remember what motor it is, but there's and I think it's Range Rover that did it. Just to change the starter. One of the I could get my kid to change the starter in this car because it's super simple. It's 2 bolts, a couple of shims, line it up, bolt it in, go. I think it's Range Rover, one of their V8s. You have to take the entire top half of the motor off just to change the starter. It's built into the center of the motor. And I don't know if some mechanic slept with some engineer's wife or what, but that guy's an asshole. Because
We had a saying. We had a saying in the Air Force because there was a lot of course, officers, college degree, would have to fly the aircraft, but it took somebody that had a high school degree and a little bit of technical training to fix it. So we had this saying: it takes a high school diploma to fix a college degree fucking fuck up.
yeah, and it's like, you don't have that. Like if you look at like a '69 Camaro, I mean, you can fix that with a fucking adjustable wrench and a pair of vice grips, and you can take that entire car apart. Where nowadays you can't even on the Malibu, which I can't wait to get rid of because I've never changed so many head gaskets in my life. That 3.1 V6, the best way to fix it is a gallon of gasoline and a match. But they have an array assortments of sizes where you need 3 socket sets just to take it apart.
Yeah.
And it's getting worse. Like they even have where they're using I can't remember what company it was, but they're using those remember the old McDonald's toys where they had the screws that were triangle
Mhm.
with a hole with a pin in it. So if you don't have you can't take it apart, And
So
there's
the trick with that is, and I learned this going because it's proprietary. I've noticed this on motorcycles. Typically, you can go on like places like Amazon and buy those tools.
right, but like I said, it's not like the way it was. Like once again, back to the '69 Camaro. You give me a pair of vice grips, I'll take the whole car apart. It'll take me a little while, but on a new car, you need $40,000 worth of tools just to look at it, and just to change the oil, it's going to cost you, it's and like I said, it's a sad thing because like my kid, he's slowly getting into cars and I'm loving it. And if my neighbor down the street, he's like, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you change out my oil? And it's a 2022 truck. And I was like, no. He's like, why not? I said, because it's a 2022 truck. It'll probably void your warranty. He's like, what are you talking about? And he went to the Chevy dealership and they said, yeah, only us can do it. I mean, it has to be a certified shop for that truck.
That's
and I was like, it's a fucking oil change. My kids changed the oil on this car because I made them. Because it's going back to the old saying, the saying that I have. My kids will not get their license unless I can drive a manual.
I think general maintenance should be something that the owner should be not only capable doing in the sense of the know-how, but legality reasons.
Yeah. Well, and not only that,
or
like
warranty reasons or whatever. But yeah.
Right. And on top of that is like, if you look at the Ford Model T instruction booklet, when you bought the Ford Model T brand new, it came with instructions on how to take apart the carburetor and rebuild it.
Yeah.
Here, everything says see technician. And you're like, you could just give me a piece of paper that says see technician for everything.
There's a forum out there for all that, guys.
Oh, agreed. But and like the way I learned how to do things, especially nowadays, there's a YouTube video on everything.
Yes,
and I think
I have had to rely on those a couple times.
And you know what? It's a great thing. I love it. It can be dangerous because there is bad information out there. And I'm not saying I'm an expert in any means, but when it comes to general maintenance on your car, you should at least be able to change a tire. I have a rule for my kids getting their driver's license. And you got to be able to change your own tire. You got to be able to change your oil. And if you can't drive manual, you're not getting it.
Unfortunately, us old heads have got to adopt to the times that shit's not even an option anymore. There's cars that come out that doesn't even have a spare tire anymore. Like you're stuck calling AAA or whoever.
Yeah.
And it's sad, a state of affairs, but like my car doesn't have a fucking flat or a spare, unfortunately. So if I get a flat
Really?
tire, I'm calling someone.
Yeah, that's just. I think that is the biggest weak sauce of any car company to do that. I mean, if I'm in the middle of the fucking desert in halfway from LA to Nevada, and I got to call, LA to Nevada, and I have to call somebody, it's going to cost an arm and a leg, even if you do have AAA.
Benji, what are your thoughts? You seem kind of quiet down there.
Here,
Yeah,
hanging out, just listening. The car industry's kind of weird, right? Now we have just so much government involvement in the car industry, and I guess rightfully so, since they did the bailouts. They kind
God,
of
don't even
own
start
most
with
of the car
that.
industry at this point. So it's kind of like, well, you do what we say because we pretty much bought you. It
Well,
really
no,
sucks
because
for the consumer.
GM, and I hate to push back. I don't want to get too political in this, but
No,
I
go ahead.
know when GM got their bailout, it took them like 3-4 years to pay all that back. So they still own all their shit without government involvement. But I do
But
understand
they're
when it comes to
basically
like
saying, yeah,
EPA regulations, safety regulations, etc., etc.
and I just say fuck the EPA because you know, and don't get me wrong, technology is great for they got that new motor. It's the 4-cylinder. It was originally a diesel block for a generator,
Hmm.
and it uses you can put an LS3 head on it and get 500 horsepower. And it's due to the technology in it. And you can't buy them yet. And when you can, I will, and I'll put one in this. But the technology in the new cars with like Nissan, we talked about that Nissan motor that only weighs like 45 kilos and it puts out like 300 horse. It's a 4-cylinder.
So let's look at it this way with how much the government has influenced the car industry. We talked about hating, or Jeff, you talked about hating the engineers, but
Yeah.
what do the engineers do when there's no more engines to design?
They get more innovative.
Yeah.
But you got to think there's a limit that is going to be capped on a V6 or a 4-cylinder, right? You can only twin turbo and supercharge, and then do so much because there's so many restrictions. You're just at the end of the day. It's just, I mean, put it this way: the car industry is limited so much that Ferrari is now making V6s
Yeah.
because they just can't do the V12s because it's not just United States; it's literally the world that can be
Right.
able to afford these cars are like, you have to do it our way or you can't sell cars here. And you get someone who is there, I know there's not Ferrari fans, but Ferrari is a racing company before they're a car manufacturer at the end of the day.
Right.
And they're like, well, the only way we can support our racing team is to sell cars. And we literally have to start making 6-cylinder motors. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
crazy, right? A supercar company's like, this is what we have no choice but to do.
But
It's a little nuts. So I just kind of I
and I
wonder about the longevity of some of the creativity that can be done other than styling. I mean,
you look at it, but what's Ferrari's V6 putting out horsepower wise?
it's getting up there. Is it 600-700? It's
That's
the
not terrible.
no,
That's
it's not terrible to us. The 296. It's brand new. It's 296. It's like 600 or 700. It's a car super balanced, but how many years can you produce another 6-cylinder with a twin turbo setup? That's the
well,
issue.
well,
I mean,
you can
so
also
basically they ran the 360 all the way to 458, I think.
mhm,
That was a long time they ran that motor, right? I
yeah.
think that was the motor they ran, or 430 to whatever 488. It was a long time, but even then, they're like, we're done. There's nothing else we can do with this. We have to come out with the next evolution of motors. Boys, the government's saying there is no more evolution. It's like you have to. We might be getting ready to start looking at 1-cylinder or like 4-cylinder 1.6s again, 1.8 liter engines again, and be like, this is what you deal with. Make them look really cool.
Well, and that brings up my next question. Do you think we're the last generation that's going to see V8s from the factory?
I don't know. Ferrari just dropped the V12. Literally just dropped it. I'm not sure how. how long they had the kind of like the skew, how far out they pushed it because they knew the regulations were coming down. So we might
Right.
see a couple other things. I think we're gonna.
Well, on that
We
same
might
note,
be the what? We might be one of the oldest last generations to see it. How
right?
about that? And I'll put it
Yeah,
that way. I don't think we're the
but
last, but I don't think too
on
much
that
longer
same
there's
on
going to
that
be here.
same tick of innovating with your V6s and your V8s, innovating to make them be current. And I know nobody on this panel here likes the brand BMW, but they came out with that hydrogen powered vehicle.
I was going
It
to say the
runs on
only.
fucking water.
Yeah, but again, I think the only way you're going to get the petrol head person involved, we're going to have to come out with alternative fuel that is very similar to gas but burns clean because we want to hear the noise, right? That's the
Right.
biggest thing electric lacks
And
is
speakers
noise.
just don't cut it.
No, it's because it's synthetic, right?
I'm talking to you,
So
Dodge.
it's super synthetic. So they're going to have to come out with something that
Well,
gives
I
a
think
representation of that.
BMW also, I think it's BMW. I watched a video on it. Donut Media had a video out where they were testing out a new fuel, and I want to say it's BMW. They're making a new fuel that is literally the cleanest fuel, and you can put it in this car tomorrow. Right now it's a little bit pricey, but it's because it's first generation, and
Yeah.
First generation anything is
Well, you can run E85. It's just super expensive. What is it like?
right.
You get regular gas in my area is anywhere between 320 and 350, where you get an E85 for like almost $6 a gallon. If you can start saying, you know what, you have to run E85, we're going to take away regular, because that's all the one with all the fucking corn in it. Get rid of that. Start running E85 where it's super ass clean.
Well,
Maybe
if they do start making E85 a requirement, so there's gonna be some rich fucking farmers.
Well,
So
so take Koenigsegg. They're designed to make the most amount of horsepower off of E85, and there's a couple of alternatives for stuff coming down the streets that isn't just electric or hydrogen.
Right.
There's some other stuff, but
yeah,
they don't talk
so
about it until they have to, I guess.
I I kind of have to divert a little because I have a different opinion on that when it comes to. I know these regulations sucks when it comes to personal perspectives. Again, I think it does push innovation, but when conversations like this are being had, I kind of think back. I wasn't alive then, of course. Back in the 1700s, when like the first automobiles were all steam engines, and
And
you had
electric.
those people and electric, absolutely. And those are like I think 1800s, maybe not. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
1800s.
so.
Yeah, but you had the same kind of guys like us sitting here, we're like, well, back in the horse and buggy days,
Well,
I think
the funny thing
I just
is,
think us as we get older, we need to realize that technology is more adaptive. And I think in some part we need to be more adaptive. I
I
mean,
agree.
I miss those hot rods, and you don't see them as much anymore. Those fucking tire burning, engine re- engine revving, engine revving, fire spitting fucking hot rods. You just don't see much anymore because of all the regulations that have come out. But at the
Sure.
same time, it's made cars more economical when it comes to fuel prices and etc. on a certain utility kind of base. I mean, when it comes to these fast, high powered motors, like there's places for those, the race tracks and shit like that, hobbyists. And I don't think that's ever going to go away. I
No.
just think that itself is going to change over time because I could see in about 100 years down the road, people are taking Teslas from today and they're souping them out. I
Oh
just,
yeah.
yeah, like, so
Well,
I think
you
there's,
gotta hand it. You gotta hand it to those electric vehicles. I'm not the electric vehicle guy. I'm not the guy that's going to say go buy an electric vehicle. But when you could go buy a brand new Tesla Plaid and run 9s from the dealership and hit 9s that same day, that's impressive as fuck.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, and I don't want this to be some sort of like um, recommendation for Tesla. I'm just using them as an analogy. I don't really, I can't stand Tesla. I think there's other vehicles out there that are better, but
It's kind of like
Tesla's
the iPhone.
like,
It's the iPhone of cars.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
You're not buying a car. You're buying the brand. And bringing us back to brands, it's like
I was just about to say that it's closed the circle.
it closes the circle and kind of wraps up the show. But it's like, you know, and something I wish we would have been able to bring up on the customization show. Just like everything, anything can be customized. You know, there's a reason why they sell 1,400 different style of phone cases. And you know, it's the brand thing for me. It's, does it work? Okay, let's use it. I don't need to have the coolest. I don't have an iPhone. I refuse to buy an Apple product because
Same here.
I have a
Android, baby.
no. I can't remember the brand I have. I know it's an Android, dork. My daughter, it's an Android. I'm like, I know it's an Android. No, but I can't remember the brand, but it works just as good as my wife's iPhone. The difference is my wife's iPhone was $2,000 and mine was $500. And yeah, Red Me. That's what I have. That's mine. It's rose gold. Only because that's the only one they had. But that Red Me company actually makes a Harry Potter version. You could buy a Harry Potter styled phone. And I was like, I want one. But they don't carry them in the store. They don't carry them in the store. I love me some Harry Potter. But it's a little pricey, and I'm just like, yeah, it's just a phone. I can buy a Harry Potter case and call it a day. But yeah, you know, like I said, great discussion, gentlemen. I love being able to debate and there's always going to be that argument of Ford versus Chevy and Snap-on versus Cobalt and
that generation, this generation.
Yeah, and it's a never-ending debate, and at the end of the day, it's your preference.
It comes down to personal perspective. Yes,
personal perspective.
Like,
as Benji was saying, what's the feel of the tool or the feel of the vehicle. You know, like not to shit on Benji a little bit, but his Porsche is basically a Volkswagen Beetle. Because the motor's in the back.
I'm surprised they didn't flip you off and say fuck you.
It's all right.
But
that's fine.
But and don't get me wrong, I think Porsches are amazing. But if I build the right Beetle for half the price, I can smoke his Porsche. Maybe not the GT3 RS.
I think sometimes when it comes down to cars, it's like art.
Like, yeah, 100%.
It's like it's totally subjective. What you like might not be what I like. What I like, vice versa.
And it's like, you don't have to have the newest, greatest thing to still be cool. And at the end of the day, I know it's cliche. Everybody wants to be cool. Everybody's cool in their own way. But what's cool is a finished product, a finished project. Or what's cool is you doing it yourself. The old analogy, built or bought. I'll build it every day.
Sometimes I appreciate. Sometimes I'll look at a car and be like, me personally, I don't dig what they did to it, but I always respect the work they put into it.
100%. Sure. Because it may be my thing, but it's like guys and we shit on donks on the customizing episode. It's not my thing, but you put in the work, dude. Good on you.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
unless you rattle can it, I'm gonna laugh at you.
However, no wait, and I'm gonna send you a link, sir. Kevin Tetz, easily known as the greatest automotive painter on the planet. I think he's maybe 10 years older than I am. he actually proved the other day on his channel, he's got a YouTube channel called Paintucation. He proved that you can do a paint job with a rattle can just as good if you spent, all the equipment of buying a full-on setup to paint your vehicle. He did a motorcycle gas tank. It was however, I do say he cheated a little bit because the rattle can he bought, it was a Rust-Oleum, but Rust-Oleum has a changeable tip. You rotate it and it does different tips. So he didn't use the cone, the cone of a spray can. It's really hard he was able to switch it to a fan, but it comes down to prep. It comes down to the work.
Yeah.
But once again, I want to thank you gentlemen for coming. I love doing this show. I think this is my favorite thing now. This is my new favorite thing because, it's hard for car guys to talk sports. Benji, I know you can do it. I cannot. I can't do it. It just, I'd rather
Sports
shoot
ball. What's that?
I'd rather shoot myself in the foot and walk to the hospital and stand in line just to get my ass kicked.
Are you listening to this? Fuck your sports cat. No.
Yeah. But, finding a car guy or a tool guy or somebody to talk to about what you're passionate about is not an easy thing in everyday life. I actually saw, I want to make t-shirts for the show that says caution. We'll sometimes talk about cars. We'll randomly burst into car conversation. I saw that online the other day and I was like, I need that. Because it's true. My wife will literally, she'll be like, hey, what? My wife does this crazy thing at night. She says my voice is soothing to her. And I'm like, yeah, you need hearing aids. But she says, your voice is soothing. Tell me what you would do to the Eclipse if you had zero budget, unlimited funds. And I'll go into it. And the next thing you know, snores coming next to me. And I'm like, I get it. So like I said,
I appreciate the fact.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I appreciate the fact that it's not just cars itself, but it's what goes into, not to sound pedantic, but the garage itself, tools, cars, bikes, and I'm sure there's a whole plethora of other things we can get into.
Well, I have a couple of episodes planned. One of them, what I do to plan for the show is as I'm doing my Go About Day, I keep a list up, and it's called the Jeff's Garage episode list. And so I have a couple of episodes planned out. One of them I have named Man Caves and She Sheds.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? And each episode I want to be able to, where you see the brand name, the episode name, and you're like, this is a subject that I want to talk about or I want to hear about. As opposed to episode 3, we're going to talk about, the new Chevelle that's coming out or something like that. And I get it. So far, we've done a lot on cars and bikes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I do want to get into the whole tools. I have an episode that I've entitled "He Who Dies with the Most Toys Wins," because we all have those toys, whether it be $400,000 worth of tools, or ATVs, and I have a video for that one saved. There is a new toy out, gentlemen, that we're going to talk about on that show. It's a go-kart for the water, basically.
Okay.
Actually, they got them in Texas, and I'll show you the video on the episode. But it's basically a little boat that is basically, I think it runs like a 9.9 horsepower motor, so not super fast, but it's a single seater. So it's quick, and it's basically a kayak with an outboard on it.
I mean, didn't they already have that? It was one that had the 2 little levers up front and had the track systems on it.
Right. Well, that was not a boat, but the thing is, there's a, and I'll bring it up on that episode.
People, so why would you go to a single seat when you got a 4-seater?
And I will find video of the boats they have here. Here they have a tour that you can do in Cancun. It's called the Jungle Tour. and jungle is extremely loose because you don't actually go in the jungle. You drive a 2-person speedboat with a 12 horsepower motor on the back, 12 or 15 horse, and it looks like a small cigarette boat, like a little speedboat, and it's got this giant fucking wing on the back. They look cool as fuck, and you drive and you play follow the leader. Then you do snorkeling for 45 minutes and then drive back. It's a great tour, and it's one of those things. It's like you get to play on these little bitty speedboats.
Sure.
And my buddy owns one of the companies, and I told him as soon as I got the money, I want to buy one. He says, "Oh no, don't buy one. We'll make you one." They make them on property. They have a mold, and it's all fiberglass, and they build them on site. So if they break one or one sinks, we'll just build another one. No big deal.
So is this company far away?
I can get from my house to his offices in about an hour and a half.
That's
And
nice.
that's
maybe a
that-
Jeff's Garage on location.
I'm thinking about it. I've talked to him about it. And I'm looking into those as well. I'm also looking into a couple of interviews. I've reached out to several people. We've talked it behind the scenes. I don't want to give any spoilers away. Don't get anybody's hopes up. But I talked to a gentleman today that is, I'm going to be doing an interview with him. He owns a company that does green energy. He's got some really cool equipment that it's a hydrogen power system that runs on natural gas or methane gas or whatever kind of gas, and it provides 150% of the electricity you'll ever need. Really kind of cool setup. I'm going to have him on for an interview. I'm just getting that set up right now. But give me a minute. My kid's handing me food. But yeah, that is the end of tonight's show. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up once again with our intro video, and then we'll do our outros. So hang back, gentlemen, for 1 second, and we're going to play this.
She was in a burn rubber and making motors blow. So after school, asked her just how fast she liked to go. She said, how many cubic inches you got where it counts? I told her 125 and she broke my motor mount. She's a hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod ain't enough for her. She didn't stay up for. She's a hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. And I'm in my rod to pose. She's a hot rod whore. In the bag, she's hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. She don't need to know your son. Just your token power. She's hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. Hot rod whore. They're shining my rod to pose. She's a hot rod whore. Hot rod.
Yes. So that once again, that is the Marauders with Hot Rod Whore. Once again, thank everybody for watching. Thank everybody for listening. We are on the Nonsensical Network. I'm going to go ahead and throw up the bio link for the Nonsensical Network. You see there at the bottom of your screen. The QR code in the corner is the bio link for Jeff's Garage. Everywhere you can follow Jeff's Garage. And I was going to throw that up here as well. And the last thing I want to bring up is Jeff's Garage podcast at gmail.com. I want to do more episodes of Smash or Crush. What is it? Crush or Keep. Sorry.
Crush or Keep.
But I want to do our viewers' vehicles. So email us a picture of your vehicle. Maybe we'll go ahead, and of course with your social media attached onto it, and we'll go ahead and shout you out when we go ahead and talk about your car. I want to do an episode of where we kind of maybe even do interviews with somebody that's got a cool car. We can kind of talk about that. Or I actually reached out to a couple of guys for interviews that some carpenters, and you know, there's a couple of YouTube channels that I'd really like to talk to about their work. in that field. So once again, gentlemen, we are at the end of the show. Blazin, what is your outro for the night, sir?
Well, I spent weeks looking for my 10 millimeter socket, but apparently Benji found it first. So thank you. I'm out.
And Benji, sir.
I'm keeping the 10 mil.
Ah, fuck.
Well, and once again, we are at the end of the show. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. And if you didn't build it yourself, is it really worth it? Just saying.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.